In the latest chapter, the heroes of UA faced a desperate battle against the army of clones created by Toga. However, in a surprising twist, Toga finds redemption through a Chaco, forming a genuine bond with her. In a selfless act of sacrifice, she performs a blood transfusion that saves a Chaco's life, causing all her clones to vanish and preventing a continent-wide catastrophe. All for One, after eliminating several heroes, attempts to reunite with Tomura, but his path is blocked by All Might. Though he no longer possesses his former power, the symbol of peace stands before his enemy wearing a specially designed combat armor. His aged body and limited strength contrast sharply with his indomitable spirit, inspiring courage and hope in everyone who witnesses his stand. The clash between the two becomes a true battle of legends. Using the full capabilities of his suit, All Might endures the villain's attacks and even manages to limit his regeneration, striking with the same ferocity he once had in his prime. But All for One retaliates with overwhelming fury, severely damaging the hero's armor. Still, All Might refuses to give in. He re-equips himself with an upgraded, massive version of the suit, transforming into a metallic scorpion with energy thrusters and tentacles capable of anchoring to any surface. As the battle reaches its peak, the entire world watches in awe and fear. All Might releases all his remaining energy in a desperate attempt to completely destroy the villain's body and end his regeneration once and for all. Yet, sensing his intent, All for One launches a barrage of brutal attacks that nearly obliterate him. Amid the chaos, the hero counterattacks using a combat drone infused with the power of Star and Stripe, America's strongest hero, combining multiple quirks to strike back and disrupt the villain's healing. Meanwhile, on another front, Aoyama and Toru take on Kunieda, whose power has devastated the defensive lines. Determined to prove his worth, Aoyama activates his quirk without relying on his belt, while Toru reflects his light beams using her invisibility, burning away the enemy's plans and achieving a miraculous victory. After the fight, Toru notices part of her body becoming visible, leaving her shocked and embarrassed, while the two prepare their next move to burn the remaining flowers and save the fallen heroes. Back in the city, All Might, gravely injured and with his armor shattered, still stands tall before All for One, who prepares his final attack. Everything seems lost, until in that very moment, an unexpected figure appears to aid the hero, reigniting a spark of hope that could change the fate of the battle and the entire world. Through a flashback, we see Stain's perspective and learn that he had been following the course of this final confrontation from the very beginning. After a long search, he managed to obtain All for One's blood and used it to activate his quirk, paralyzing the villain for a brief moment. But why would Stain, known for his hatred of false heroes, help All Might? Stain explains that his ideology is to support only those who possess a true sense of justice, something All Might perfectly represents. Even as a powerless man, he continues to risk his life to protect the weak. Back in the present, All for One overcomes the paralysis by forcing his own blood out and replacing it with one modified with antigens, rendering Stain's quirk useless. He then slams Stain through several buildings and proceeds to steal his quirk, killing him in the process. With his dying breath, Stain entrusts All Might with ending the war once and for all. Meanwhile, All Might's Hercules armor sacrifices itself to protect him, saving his life but leaving him critically wounded. Despite the overwhelming odds, All Might refuses to give up. He recalls his teacher, his fallen comrades, and all those who once believed in him. Their memory fuels his resolve even as his body fails. His spirit stands unbroken. All for One, realizing that nothing now stands in his way, plans to merge with Tomura Shigaraki to create a stronger, unstoppable version of himself. However, Tomura rejects the idea, driven by his own pride and his desire to defeat Midoriya with his own hands. Enraged, All for One decides to force the fusion and in a cruel display of dominance shows All Might's broken body to the world, a psychological weapon meant to crush the hero's morale. Seeing his mentor so brutally defeated fills Midoriya with pain and rage. Remembering how All Might once gave him hope when he had none, he vows not to let that light die. Despite his battered body, All Might clings to All for One and tries to detonate what's left of his armor to take the villain down with him. Yet All for One uses Stain's very own quirk against him, paralyzing him and stopping the self-destruction. Then with one devastating strike, All for One shatters the airborne stronghold, sending it crashing toward the ground. The remnants of Star and Stripe's squad attempt to stop him, but they are instantly overwhelmed. The world watches in horror as the symbol of peace stands moments away from death. But just when all hope seems lost, a sudden explosion bursts through the wreckage of the airborne coffin. Emerging from the flames is none other than Bakugo, signaling not only the end of an era, but the beginning of a new one. As the final battle between the heroes and All for One rages on, the entire world watches in anticipation. Although many remain indifferent, the chaotic climate changes caused by the fight begin to spread, even threatening to reach the United States. Faced with this, humanity slowly unites, praying for All Might and Japan's heroes to prevail. Amid the chaos, Midoriya and Bakugo exchange a single glance before launching a coordinated attack, risking their lives to rescue All Might from the villain's grasp. Though Tomura insists that All Might's death is inevitable, people's faith does not waver. They see in Bakugo and Midoriya the last glimmer of hope. Against all odds, Bakugo manages to pull All Might away from All for One, a heroic act that shocks everyone, especially All Might himself. In that moment, he realizes that his era as the world's symbol of peace is coming to an end, and that the next generation is ready to carry on his legacy. Severely wounded, Bakugo clings to life thanks to Shinya, who sacrifices his own body to repair the young hero's vital organs, including his heart. Moved by Bakugo's determination, All Might shares part of his Hercules armor with him, restoring the use of his arm and reviving the spirit of the symbol of peace through a shared smile. Meanwhile, furious over his failure, All for One attempts to fuse with Tomura, but the younger villain refuses, creating even more chaos. Bakugo's explosive return completely disrupts the enemy's plans. His quirk has evolved to the point of matching All for One's speed, turning him into a new beacon of hope for the heroes. Elsewhere, Japan's defense forces begin to recover, and news arrives that several hero divisions have successfully contained the League of Villains, though not without casualties. Despite the heavy losses, the hero's resolve remains unbroken. Realizing that his body is reaching its limit, Midoriya gathers every ounce of power left in him for one final strike, an attack that could decide the fate of the entire world. At the same time, All for One looks down on Bakugo, underestimating him as an insignificant obstacle. Yet, that arrogance becomes his greatest weakness. Driven by his will to protect, Bakugo now matches the villain's might, proving that even a human can stand. As the world watches in fear and hope, including Bakugo's parents, All for One is suddenly reminded of his brother Yoichi, a memory that stirs both anger and sorrow within him. And though he takes a devastating hit, the villain reveals that he's still not finished.